So I had my baby. If you want to know about my birth story and the days leading up to when I had my baby, follow this video to the end. I promise you it's something you want to see. Hello and welcome back to my channel. It's Mara. I have gotten on today to talk a little bit about my birth story. I am in bed, but I am laying on my pregnancy pillow. If you watch my items that I found useful for my postpartum and nursing or breastfeeding video, I'll have that posted below so that you can see more about this pillow. Oh man. But I wanted to get on today to talk about my birth story, but I just wanted to talk about my birth story with our fifth baby, Hendrix. If a little about me, if you haven't watched my channel before, if you're new to my channel, I am a married mom of 5. We have 4 daughters and 1 son, ranging in age from 10 to Hendrix here is 3 weeks exactly today. But so my birth story. I have been having something called predominal contractions for about a week before I actually went into labor. Predominal contractions, they feel like they're really, really intense. Like Braxton Hicks are kind of bearable, but these were really unbearable. But I had been having them for about a week before I had Hendrix. So Sunday they got really intense. I called out of work and had my husband take me to the hospital. We dropped off the girls and went to the hospital. And so we got to the hospital and I was still 2 centimeters dilated. There was no progress for delivery. I was discharged around 11:30 p.m. on Sunday night. I went to work as scheduled on Monday night. I worked my whole shift. Tuesday night, I went to work around 2 o'clock in the morning. I felt really like damp between my legs. It wasn't really a normal feeling. I got some paper towel and wiped. There are white paper towels at my job, so I just used paper towel and I just wiped so that I was dry. Clear, like no sticky residue, no bloody show, no nothing like that. Everything was just clear. It didn't have a smell to it. Excuse me. Um, but I had been leaking that substance that night. Hey man. Um, so I called my husband, let him know what was happening before I called my midwife, and So, what was it? Oh, I notified my husband, let him know what happened, and I called my midwife, and the midwife that was on call that night, she asked me if I was having contractions, and at that point, no, I was not having contractions. She asked if I was feeling any pain, if I had a big gush of water, um, if I felt a big gush of water. No, none of that. Um, so she wasn't too concerned about it being my waters breaking. Um, and I wasn't too sure about it either because, I hadn't felt no burst of fluid or anything like that. Sorry, I have a lash in my eye. Um, but, she told me to call her back if I felt any differences. Like I said, this was 2 o'clock in the morning, Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. So she said she would relay the information to the next midwife who was going to be coming on call the following day, that Wednesday. Um, that midwife called me at 8 o'clock that morning. I got off work at 7:30, and I was still feeling the little trickling of the water. While I was at work, I walked around a little bit before I left. So I got home and I spoke to that midwife like around 8, and she asked me if I was still feeling the trickling of water. She felt like it was my waters breaking, so she didn't want me to be out, out in the world with my waters breaking, with COVID-19 happening and everything like that. Um, so she scheduled me to come in at 12 noon, being that I didn't have an actual appointment. The office would be pretty much empty, so I wouldn't have to wait for any rooms to be free before I was seen. So I agreed to come in at 12. I made myself a almond butter sandwich just to have something, full of protein on my stomach. I drank a red raspberry um, leaf tea. I actually had it like really, what's the word I want to use? I used like maybe 4 tea bags for an 8-ounce cup, so that it was really, I guess, potent, intense in flavor, or I can't think of the word I want to use, but I used 4 bags of the red raspberry tea with 8 ounces of water. Um, I drank that. I finished eating everything probably around 9 o'clock. I went on a walk at my daughter's school. It's probably like maybe 10 steps away from my house. So I just walked to the school. I walked around the parking lot. There's like a drive around drop off spot. But I walked around out there for probably 15 to 20 minutes. I got back home, took a shower, and got ready to lay down for work. Got ready to lay down before my appointment. Um, so around 10, I was getting ready to close my eyes and getting ready to go to sleep, and I felt like a bubble just flow from out my private area. Just a bubble just came through, and I used my hand and checked my fingers, and it was like a clear substance on my finger. It wasn't sticky. It didn't have no stretch to it. It was like putting my hand in water and seeing it on my fingers. But I showed it to my husband and let him know I think my water was breaking. And bless you, man. And I got up to go to the bathroom to clean myself off again and get fresh panties on, and I turned around to show my husband the the fluid that was in my underwear, to show him like I think my water's breaking. And I went to turn back around to step into my bathroom, um, and my waters burst in the floor. Like I've never seen, like with me, my water broke with one of my third baby while I was at home, and this was nowhere near as much water that came out with her. Hey, baby. Um, and my husband could hear the splash. He was kind of asleep, in and out of being asleep. Um, and he heard the splashing and sat up and looked at me. And at that point, we just went into power drive to get the girls dressed and dropped off at my in-laws, which is on the way to the hospital. Excuse me. So I got the younger girls washed up. We already had clothes and everything set aside for them. Got the younger girls washed up. The older baby, my biggest girl, came into the bathroom while I was finishing getting one of the younger ones dressed and washed, and the rest of my waters burst in the floor, just continued to like pour out in the floor. And my 10-year-old looked at me and goes, "Mommy, you peed on the floor." "No, baby, I didn't pee on the floor. That's water breaking. That's where your brother is. He's trying to come out now." She washed rather quickly when I told her that. I got a towel and I scrubbed my floor to get the spot out the floor, cleaned the floor, and I cleaned the floor in the bathroom. Got myself cleaned up again, and I wore a dress. I put on one of my adult diapers that I'll show you in the next video with my items I found useful for postpartum and nursing. But I put on my Depends, and good thing I did, because I just was drenched when I got to the hospital. My contractions were probably every 3 to 4 minutes apart. I had to register, of course, even though I was there Sunday and registered Sunday. I had to re-register. Hey man. During my admission, I got to the back and was checked into my room. I was checked. I was 4 centimeters dilated. And this was probably around 11:30 we got to the hospital and checked into the hospital. I work in the healthcare field, so I already knew I was going to have to be tested for COVID, being admitted into the hospital. And I tried to hold off on it as long as I possibly could. But I got it done in between contractions. I did ask the nurse to do it gently. Don't just shove up my nose and twist it around. Just do it gently so I could brace myself. And I did pretty good with it. Hey man. Hey. Hold on. Let me get him fixed up here. Hey baby. So, I got my COVID test done. And by this time, it was probably a little after 1 o'clock. The hospital that we were at has food carts outside. So around 1:22, I sent my husband to go to the carts so that we could have some food while I was waiting for the baby to get there. When you have a natural labor and delivery at the hospital I was at, you are allowed to eat food. You can bring your own food, you can bring your own snacks, you can bring your own drinks or whatever, anything to keep you hydrated and keep your energy up so that you can have energy enough to deliver your baby, since you won't be getting IV fluids and medication and things like that. When you have the medication, you are only allowed to have clear liquids. So chicken broth or ice chips, water, Jello, little things like that, stuff that doesn't really have sustenance for your body or energy for you to push. So after epidurals, most people are really tired. And after natural delivery, most people still have a little energy to do things, move around and such. So I sent my husband at 1:22, and he went to the Jamaican cart and got us jerk chicken with steamed cabbage and, everything that goes with it. Around that time, my husband probably wasn't even gone from the hospital room 5 minutes before, actual labor started to get intense. So 5 minutes after he left, I was put in the, I put the name of it up here, put in these positions, told to do these positions to help my labor progress a little faster than how it was going. It wasn't slowing down or anything like that, but my cervix wasn't opening to where it should have been by that stage of my contractions. So I had to lay on my side with this ball between my legs, with my top part of my body turned as close to the bed as I could possibly get it. Contractions immediately started to get more intense. I got upset because my previous labor was not painful. I had no discomfort at all. But this labor and delivery was very intense, very painful, because I wasn't able to move around. I was confined to the bed. I wasn't being monitored. So I was just in the bed, just uncomfortable and in the bed. I started to get kind of antsy. I took the pillow and I threw the pillow out. I kept asking the nurse if she could move the pillow because I was uncomfortable and I was starting to feel the urge to push. And she didn't want me to start pushing at that point. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to listen to my body. I listened to my body. I threw the pillow across the room and flipped over on all fours. And I started to push because that's what my body was telling me to do. This was probably around 1:50. At that point, my husband came back through the door, and I could already start to feel his head. Bless you, man. I could feel my son's head, like starting to get to my vaginal canal, my birthing canal. My husband came in and set the plates down, and all I could do was look at him and say, I'm so glad you made it. Because I went through this whole phase of telling the nurses I wasn't going to push anymore. I can't do this. I don't want to do this without my husband. And it was mostly because I didn't want him to miss the delivery of our first son. And I'm sure he'd have been pissed if he missed the delivery over food. But he got back to the hospital. Like I said, the food trucks are only like across the street or diagonal across the street, or like they're within the hospital. They're not miles and miles away. But my husband got back, and literally two pushes got my whole son out. His head was this perfect little ball. It didn't come out like a peanut. Everyone was talking about how perfect his head was, how his head didn't look misshapen, or a lot of kids' head come out like a football or like a dome on the back of on their head, and his didn't come out like that. So like I said, two pushes, he was out. I had no medication, so all natural birth. I didn't have any tears, no episiotomy, so no stitches or perinatal care was needed after that. I did have what was called road burns from the area stretching so abruptly to get him out and going back down. But that was how my little Hendrix was born. That was the most difficult labor I've had. Hey, man. That was my more difficult labor, besides my very first labor. But like I said, I will talk about all of my birth experiences, all 5 of my birth experiences. This was on my 5th son, or my 5th child, who is my son. But I will soon do a video on all of my birth stories so that you all can see that for yourselves. So be sure to check out the videos below, um, so you can see what I find useful postpartum and during nursing. And keep your eyes peeled for my other 4 birth stories. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more videos like this. Again, thanks for watching. Bye.